Hi and welcome to the for now last video in the series Step by Step to Calendar Management. In the first 3 videos you learned about how to diagnose your calendar, the basic operating principles of calendar management, and obviously how to manage your calendar based on your priorities and your energy type. I hope that you checked out the videos. If you didn't, make sure that you check them out here, here and here. And then we can dive into today's topic, because today's topic honestly is probably the most important one when it comes to calendar management, because once you have set up all of these rules and all of these guidelines and all of these different time blocks, it is now important that you start to stick to it. And I know that this can be the most challenging one because it is hard to say no. There's an art of saying no. Based on research from the University of California in San Francisco, people that have a hard time saying no actually experience more stress, more burnout, and even depression, which are all things that obviously hinder you from being more emotional intelligent. So in today's video, I want to really dive with you into the topic of how to set boundaries and the art of saying no, because I want to help you to be as productive as possible. Because we all know that you can only be productive if you protect your own time, and that can be sometimes super tricky and challenging. So I hope that you have some paper and a pen in order to take some notes, because I'm going to share a lot of important information with you today, and I would say let's get started. Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Julia Arndt and I'm a peak performance coach and stress management trainer, and I'm super excited that you're watching this video today, because I want to talk with you today about how to set boundaries and the art of saying no. I want to share with you a little bit more about how and when to set boundaries, how to communicate boundaries, and really specifically how to set boundaries with your boss, because this is one of the biggest questions that I often get from people that I work with. So I decided to make a specific section in this video about specifically this topic. So let's jump into the first one. In the first video, I shared with you 5 key questions that you should be really clear on, and I also encouraged you to set daily and weekly priorities. Now, once you have all of these different things set up, you probably have different time blocks on your calendar. And now the big question obviously is, what happens if somebody is challenging you on those different time blocks? So let's say somebody is either sending you a request or directly a meeting invite that is matching the time that you, for example, set out for yourself to work on a project or take a lunch break or whatever it is. And there are 2 important questions that you need to ask yourself if this is happening. Number 1 is obviously the key question: is this part of my priority? Obviously, if the answer is yes, then it is pretty easy and straightforward, because you're obviously going to say yes to the meeting. However, you should always ask yourself the question, is this the best time to meet at this point, right? So for example, somebody is sending you a meeting request, and yes, it is part of your priority. However, it is colliding with an important project that you're working on, or with your lunch break, which you should treat just as important as any other time blocks on your calendar. So if the answer is yes, it is a priority, but maybe no, the time is not really good for me, then you should still not hesitate to tell the person that you would like to find a better time. And obviously, I think it's a little bit of an easier conversation, because you can basically tell that person, hey, yes, this is a super important priority for me. However, the time is not great. Can we reschedule to a specific other time and date? This is important because I think it is extremely important that you're making specific suggestions about when is a good time for you to meet. I think we oftentimes have the habit to just be like, just look at my calendar and find some time with me, but we want to go away from that. Remember, we want to make sure that we are managing our own time. So you need to take the necessary steps in order to do that. Option number 2 is obviously that the request that is coming in is not currently matching your priorities. And then you need to choose between 3 different things. Number 1, either you cancel the meeting or the request and you give a reason specifically why it is not part of your priorities right now. Number 2, you postpone it because maybe it is a priority, but it is not a priority for this week. Or number 3, you delegate it. So maybe you find that this request is somewhat important, but it doesn't really fall under your tasks and your responsibilities. So those are 3 super valid, super important insights that you can choose and that you can decide on. And again, 3 super simple things I'm going to repeat it: cancel, delegate, or postpone, because these are the things that should always go through your head when you're either receiving meeting requests or if you're already seeing some meeting blocked on your calendar. And of course, now the question is, how are you communicating to this person? I feel like when it is delegating or postponing, it might be somewhat of an easier conversation because you still want to meet with that person. It's just going to be at a different point in time. But when you canceled, that's obviously a little bit more tricky. So in the next part, I want to share a couple of different communication templates with you that I hope you find handy in order to help you start communicating your boundaries. Start to say no. There's an art in saying no. And I think, a lot of people say that no is a complete sentence, and I somewhat agree with that. But I think in a work environment where we want to be inclusive and where we want to be there for each other, I think it is helpful to also create trust and safety. And we can do that by just clearly communicating why we are doing what we are doing. So let's jump into some of these templates and I'll show you what I mean by that. The first template that I want to share with you today is the following. To be honest, I'm a bit behind on my project and I'm nervous to get everything done. I would really love to meet you. Can we reschedule to specific time and date? Or can I help you in another way? For example, connect you with someone else. So this is a super, super honest template and I really love it because it shares somewhat some vulnerability about feeling behind on other projects. So it's very honest, but as we are all human beings, we can all relate to the fact that we are sometimes feeling behind and we don't want to take on additional work. So you will be able to connect with that person on that level. Here's something that is similar but a little bit different. I'm trying to set some better habits with myself and trying really hard to have a little time each day to work on my projects. So I'm not working every evening and in 7 hours of back-to-back meetings. I'm going to move the time schedule to accommodate this. However, please let me know if there's anything timely that you want to get started via email. Such a beautiful template as well. By the way, all of these templates are things that my clients are using. I haven't actually created these templates out of the blue. Those are all templates my clients shared with me that are already in use. So feel free to copy with pride, to steal with pride, and to use these templates, especially when you're getting started. Because I know, especially when you're getting started and when you are used to saying yes to everything, it can be super, super difficult to move into the other direction. But I think there's something to be said about trust and respect. And the more you will start to set boundaries and be really clear with people around what is important for you, the more trust and respect you will actually get from your coworkers, stakeholders, and clients. And the final template that I want to share with you today is the following. Let me check my schedule and get back to you about doing that. I'm trying to be more cognizant about overcommitting. And this is a really good time where you can, for example, also have a conversation with your manager about what your priorities should actually be, because sometimes that might not be as clear. So I've mentioned it already multiple times, but I'm going to highlight it again. When you start to set boundaries, you need to be prepared. This is the most important thing because you should expect violations to happen. Violations will happen. People will always schedule time over your time blocks, and you need to learn to be comfortable to redirect people. Don't even see it as saying no or being rude with people or not being there for people, but to really just protect your own time and to be more smarter about how you are working with people and when you are working with people. So be prepared. One of the things that I highly encourage you to do is, for example, to write down some of these specific templates that I just shared with you today. Maybe you're taking them exactly how I told them, or you are slightly changing them to match your needs. And you could write them on a little post-it note and basically say, this is what I'm going to say, and just have it in front of your computer or next to your computer so you can see it when a person is asking you that question. And you can use it in all different kinds of settings. You can use it in a conversation, in an email, or as a decline when you have a meeting request. So there's really no limits on how you can use these templates, as long as you are prepared, you know what to say, and you start really using them. At the beginning, it might be super difficult, again, because you may be used to saying yes all the time, but as you start to get feedback from other people, the more comfortable you will be. And one of the feedbacks that I always receive in the workshops when I'm delivering this specific workshop to tech companies, I always get the feedback, wow, I wish somebody would send me such an honest email, because then I would also feel more comfortable to set my own boundaries. So there's really something to be said as well about creating a culture within your team or within your company, that it is absolutely okay to say no and to set boundaries. So the final topic then that I want to share with you in today's video is how to say no to your boss. Because obviously it's your boss and you feel like you should always say yes to your boss because your boss is your boss. But there's also something to be said about being comfortable and stepping up to say no to your boss. And there's an art in that as well. And I think instead of seeing it as a confrontation or as an argument, which I think is probably what we oftentimes see setting boundaries with, or how we associate saying no, is to see it as more of a conversation, as more of an open discussion about what is important and what is not important. So even with your boss, or even especially with your boss, you should be comfortable to share and to negotiate what kind of priorities you should be working and focusing on. So if your boss is asking you to take on another task, you can say to your boss, and use one of these templates that I actually shared earlier around, hey, this is really great and this sounds super exciting. However, I'm already super stretched thin and I'm really trying to be better about setting boundaries and working within my work time in order to have more time for my partner, for my children, for my hobbies, whatever it is. And so ask your manager to sit down and to discuss what is actually a priority, what is important for your manager to work on for you. So that's as simple as it is. And then use these different templates that I already shared with you. Again, be prepared, set that mindset of, okay, today or this time around, I'm not going to just say yes. I'm going to be comfortable to speak up and say, hey, this is actually too much and I need to make sure that I am getting clearer on these different priorities for myself. I had these conversations all the time, and I think oftentimes we are a little bit uncomfortable when we bring it up, and then once we are actually finding ourselves in the conversation, we realize that it wasn't actually too hard to begin with. So I hope this is helpful for you. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked this video, and leave me a comment down below if there's anything left unsaid around calendar management. And yeah, I hope that obviously you checked out the other 3 videos. And here's just a little note of advice for the end. I know that calendar management is not super easy, and I do not expect you to be an expert by the end of these 4 videos, because here's the thing. You can have all the knowledge and all the information, but then it is really moving from all of these theoretical things into practice. And I talk with a lot of clients about calendar management and time management and setting boundaries all the time, because it is really a process and a journey to integrate what works for you and check what works for you. To realize, hey, I checked this time block of my calendar, but it's not really working for me. So how can I move this around? So we could have another 5 hours of YouTube videos on calendar management, but I think those are really the bare basics around how to get started. And I'm really, really curious to see how it is going for you. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm always super happy to hear from you. And I really do hope to see you in one of my next videos when we're talking about how to sustain your performance over time. Thank you so much for watching today. Take care and see you soon. Bye bye.